Coming to you live from Kilkenny, this is Optimal Play. I'm Brandon, and I'm here to unbox and take a first look at Cthulhu Death May Die, Fear of the Unknown. This came out, I think, so I picked it up in retail. I know that I picked it up at a time that some of the backers of this were complaining that they hadn't gotten it yet, which sounds like it's sort of a classic CMON move at this point to not prioritize shipping to their backers before also getting it into stores, which, I mean, I guess they never make any promises about that, but always feels a little scummy. But that said, I got it in hand early, so that was nice. As a non-backer, but then half of LA caught on fire, so this is actually one of the first videos I've recorded in like 5 weeks for that reason. So this has been sitting in shrink in my game room until today. On Optimal Play, when I or we unbox a game, it's a little different from what you see on a lot of YouTube. I like to, just like all the content on this channel, I am basically pointing a camera at myself doing what I enjoy, I'm basically pointing a camera at myself, engaging with the game the way I would anyway. Which for me is to read the new rules, read some of the cards, and really kind of see what's in store in this box. So this is not going to be just your 4K, look at all these miniatures unboxing. It's a CMON game, there are tons of miniatures in the box, but I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about the new rules and reading some of the new cards, looking at the new characters, and seeing, I think that for at least a pretty large subset of you, that's probably more important than the minis when it comes to, like, I already have Cthulhu Death May Die, do I need Fear of the Unknown? So yeah, I hope it's fun, I hope it's helpful, and it's what I was going to do anyway, so I figured I might as well put cameras on myself. Normally, I would, in my natural environment, I'd be sipping a beer while I do this, but it is early afternoon, so I went with Monster instead, so that'll help get me through this. Before I reach for this is obviously the box lid. Got the rest of the box right here. Before I dive in, hit the like button if you would, and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. We'd really appreciate it. And there's no Patreon or anything for Optimal Play, so it is the one and only way to help us out and show that you appreciate the stuff that we're making. So thank you for doing that. And now, boom. This is the Cthulhu Death May Die, Fear of the Unknown box. I have looked in here already, I have poked through the rulebook already and taken shrink wrap off of some of the internal contents so that I'm not constantly unwrapping things on this video. But as you can see, I've more or less put the box back together the way it was when I unboxed it. So here's the rulebook. There is one main new feature. It is called Unknown Monsters, or sort of like an unknown mode. It adds new monsters, new mythos cards, and new relics that the players can use. And you know, let me start there. So this is page kind of hilariously titled "Unknown Rules" in the rulebook, which is a very funny name for a section. But this is the main new thing that Fear of the Unknown appears to add to Cthulhu Death May Die. Otherwise, it's more characters, more Elder Ones, more scenarios, episodes rather. But really, this is kind of the new thing. And what it does is it adds this unknown board, where 2 unknown monsters can be either randomly or by your selection placed there each game. They say that this is meant to make the game a little harder, which I've played Cthulhu Death May Die, I don't know, a decent amount of times, maybe 10 times. I'm not a game tracker, but I know that I've played all of the scenarios in Season 1 and many of the scenarios in Season 2. I find that when we do win this game, it's like probably less than half the time, and we come careening just barely across the finish line with one person alive and on their last hit point or last point of sanity, whatever it is. So I haven't really been looking for a way to make this harder so far, but if you are, that is the stated the goal they're going for is for this to make the game a little bit harder. But so what this is, it's an extra board that you can put on the table. You can see beneath it is the standard monster board that you're used to. We've got new characters we'll look at in a little bit, but I want to dig through here and find these here we go. These unknown monster cards. There's a pretty big stack of them. They have, let's see, there's supposed to be there's two icons that, where are they featured on here? Oh, maybe okay, I guess that those don't, the monsters don't have those icons. So I guess the fire vampire, for example, could be this top icon that looks kind of like a medallion, or this bottom icon slot that looks like a triangle, and then other effects can refer to those, I guess, to defeat those monsters, but or to interact with those monsters. So what's interesting, or what this lets you do, is take two of the monsters kind of from your collection and add them into the episode separate, or in addition to the monsters that would already be there for the episode and the ones that would already be there because of the Elder One. So it adds a larger just variety of monsters in the scenario, and also more variability from, like, more replay value, right? I have not found any lack of replay value, considering I have 4 Elder Ones and 12 episodes already just from the first wave of content. Mixing and matching them, I haven't gotten bored, but if you are getting bored, that's what this is for. And so the other thing that, this Fire Vampire was a perfect example. The other thing about this is that they include these unknown monster cards for all of the monsters that have been released so far in the Cthulhu Death May Die franchise. And so Fire Vampire, I believe, is from Season 1, the initial box. But this mechanic lets you bring those vampires, get those minis out of that box, play against them in these episodes in a way that this is the main reason that if you have Fear of the Unknown, which is a standalone expansion, you are maybe incentivized to also have the other boxes. Other than that, this completely functions on its own. I have not yet decided whether I'm going to keep it all in my collection. These are large boxes that are starting to fill a lot of shelf space, so I may finish Season 2, making sure that I've played all the episodes once or twice, and then cycle that out and get to this. I haven't decided. Let me know in the comments what you're going to do if you have picked up Fear of the Unknown, and I think Season 4 is either out as well or just around the corner. So, anyway, these monsters, like say a fire vampire and a ghast, which is a new monster, they go into these slots, and now there's this new end of turn step reference printed on it, which seems really useful because that's always been a little, the order of things can matter, but you usually had to refer to the rule book, I think, to be like, oh, do we check the mythos cards first, or do we roll for fire first? And so this lays that all out, and it adds a new step in the check the Mythos discard pile. This is where the Elder One advances, and you do the Elder One effects if there are 3 of the Mythos symbols in your discard pile. There's another step here, which is to resolve the top monster using that icon here, that top monster's behavior, and then the bottom monster's behavior. So these activate and act every time that you every time that the Elder One advances, basically. Every time you get 3 of those icons in the discard pile. And so, for example, this Fire Vampire, it says, and it looks like a normal monster if you're familiar. It has 4 health points. It shows the dice that it rolls. It says, when it attacks, place a fire token in its space. And then it says here, when the Elder One advances, each Fire Vampire moves 2 spaces towards you, then place 1 fire in their spaces. Summon 1 Fire Vampire at the farthest gate. So you can see these are new monsters that the Mythos deck is largely not going to be spawning them. So they spawn and they act when the Elder One advances at those points in the game, which is 6 or 7 or 8 times per game. That's not to say that in this mode there are no Mythos cards, though. There are these, I think it's just 4, I haven't unwrapped these, 4 new Mythos cards. They're all called Unknown Behavior. So they look something like this. Move the nearest, and it uses this icon, move the nearest medallion icon monster 1 space towards you. So that would activate 1 Fire Vampire at the time that you draw this, and then it has this new icon, which means draw another Mythos card. So these 4 cards get shuffled into the Mythos deck, but they don't really they don't dilute the Mythos deck, they are in addition to it that these monsters can act. So you can see how this would make the game harder, but excuse me, monster burp. There is good news. There are these unknown relics, and I'm going to take a look at them. They look like this, like the Sinister Book, for example. It says, Relic, once per turn when making any roll, you may count any number of those star icons as both one success and a sanity icon. It stops counting as a star. And so the way you are meant to play with these, if you're using the unknown monsters, you randomize. There's how many of these are there? There's at least a dozen. There's a dozen. There's 12. You shuffle them and put as many out on the table as there are players, and you draft them in some order. Basically, I'm sure it's a cooperative game. It will be a collaborative discussion about who takes what in practice. So they all are all upside, and that's because they're paired with these monsters that are all downside. And they all are double-sided, and they feature iconography here. I think it's always the same, that says you flip these cards when you reach your third sanity threshold. So that's a large, just over halfway down the sanity track towards your eventual death. But it's also, if you've played Cthulhu Death May Die, you know that sometimes you want to rush down that track to level up. So anyway, you flip this card and it upgrades. Now it's the Necronomicon. When making any roll, you may count any number of stars as both 2 successes and a sanity icon. It stops counting as a star. We also have the Jade Amulet that has once during your turn, as a free action, you may move one enemy from your space up to 2 spaces away, and then once it upgrades, it becomes the Haunting Amulet. Up to 3 times during your turn as a free action, you may move one enemy from your space up to 2 spaces away. I'm actually enjoying this. I'm going to keep looking at these. By the way, the 3 sanity threshold thing, one of my favorite little tidbits that's kind of buried in the rules explaining this is that these upgrade because as your character loses their grasp on sanity, they believe that that's what this is. So the flavor of the game is not saying that this sinister book is actually the Necronomicon. It is saying that you have a sinister book, and eventually, as you lose your grasp on reality, you come to believe that it is the Necronomicon, which is a very fun interpretation of the Lovecraft and the sanity loss that's pervasive in all these games. So I've still got a few more. I think these are really cool, and I'm very curious just how much they outweigh the downside of having extra monsters on board. So we've got the Replica Blade. You gain a green die when attacking a target in your space. So that's great. That is, I think, the same effect as Brawling and would pair great with it. It becomes Excalibur. You get 2 green dice when attacking a target in your space. We have the Rune-Carved Spear. Once per turn, if you kill an enemy during an attack, you may immediately attack again for free. It becomes Gungnir. That's, if that is an established Lovecraft artifact, that's not one I've heard of. Gungnir. If you kill an enemy during an attack, you may immediately attack again for free. That free attack cannot trigger this ability again. So before it flipped, you could do that once per turn, and now on each of your actions, basically, you can get a bonus attack. Shiny Jewel. Gain 1 level in your signature skill. Oh, that sounds great. Starting at level 2 in whatever your character's special skill is. Sounds amazing. And it becomes the Shining Trapezohedron. Gain 1 additional level in your signature skill, so 2 total. You gain 1 at the start and 1 when you flip it. The Ancient Idol. Once per turn, when you would take wounds, you may prevent those wounds and lose the same number of sanity. This sanity loss cannot be prevented or reduced. So you can lose sanity instead of wounds. And it becomes the Relia Fragment. When you would take wounds, you may prevent those wounds and lose the same number of sanity. Wait. Oh, it loses the once per turn. Okay. That doesn't sound like one of the better upgrades I've seen. The Lucky Coin. You have 1 free reroll per turn. And then the Charmed Doubloon, which says you have 1 free reroll per roll. That seems pretty powerful. It's like adding a die to every single roll. And it could be a black die. Lucky Coin. The Arkham Horror games have Lucky Coins too. And they also have Charon's Obol and stuff like that. Now that there's a Lucky Coin in this game, I'm guessing that it's an actual Lovecraft, like some Lovecraft story involves a Lucky Coin. I don't know what it is, and now I'm curious. So let me know in the comments if you know what the background of the Lucky Coin is. So there's about 5 more of these we haven't looked at. I don't want to spend all day on them, but I think these are cool, and they give you an extra asymmetry from the other players in addition to your skills that you have from the start of the game, and will probably build your character a little bit differently accordingly. Last note on these unknown rules, you are welcome to divorce them from one another. If you want the game to just be easier, you can just start with these. If you want the game to just be harder, you can put the relics back in the box and just have the extra monsters. You're even invited to only use one of the 2 monster slots to just make the game a little bit harder. So that's what's going on with the unknown mechanic, and that's really the new thing. I think it's cool. I'm just a little skeptical about making the game harder as sort of a general thing, because I have not felt like this game is that easy. Characters, you love them. They're great in Cthulhu Death May Die. They're everything from their over-the-top powerful abilities as they level up to their silly flavor. So let's take a look at some of those. I'm a little overwhelmed by the mess I've made here. Let me just slide these over here. We can get rid of the unknown board and monsters. Okay, back to it. We have Julian. I'm gonna look at the full flavor text of maybe one or two of them, and then we'll just look at the mechanics. I think I do like the writing in this game. So Julian's signature quote here is just ellipses, and Julian Duluk from Belgrade, Yugoslavia. Boy is saying he does not think this is a good idea. Mike speaking for Julian. The boy doesn't speak. Small wonder. Being investigators, you can imagine the horrors he's seen. It's bad enough for fully grown adults. With such images inflicted on a young mind, it's a mercy he only has this one impediment. In fact, you're not even sure if Julian is his name. It was written on the inside of his shirt collar, as parents sometimes do. Though if he has parents, no one has spoken up. It's a bit odd to have a child helping out against such dangerous enemies, but just try and stop him. Yeah, like, the characters are great. I love that he's a mute child who, an orphan, question mark? And you're calling him by the name that is on the tag of his shirt. Pretty great. Okay, so he is, it looks like these characters all look identical to, I believe, to what we are used to from the previous Cthulhu Death May Die content. They have a track for 5 stress, 5 health, or really it's, kind of 4 stress, because when you're sitting on the last one, you can't lose anymore. 5 health before you die. The sanity track looks the same to me. So I think, as usual, it's just these skills that differentiate them. Julian has stealth, which lets him sneak past enemies. Arcane mastery, that lets him convert the stars on dice to successes. And then silent witness. It starts at level 1. When making any roll except against yourself, after all rerolls, you may heal 1 stress or wound for each tentacle symbol. So, let me process that. Why did I say except against yourself? Are there mechanics that make you roll against yourself in this box? I guess there must be. But generally, anytime you resolve a tentacle on a roll, you can heal a stress or a wound. It seems really good. So he's, despite him being a 9-year-old boy, he's a tank. It seems like he's good at taking stress and wounds and then recovering them later. As this levels up, it says, instead, you may heal 2 wounds or stress in any combination. Jeez! For each sanity icon, heal 2 wounds or stress. It goes on, for each sanity symbol, instead of healing 2, you may prevent the loss of sanity. So instead, but there are plenty of times when you don't need to heal wounds and stress, and that sounds great. And instead, for each sanity icon, you may heal 2 and prevent the loss of sanity. That seems incredible. He's one of these characters that I'm sure the hordes of monsters will find a way to kill him, but he sounds invincible, which I love that style of character. He'd be a good one for that sword that adds a die when he's fighting, right? Well, I don't know. Looking at his other skills, now I'm a little unsure what to think of him, because he's stealthy, primarily. Like, he's not a brawler. I would have expected this sort of safety from taking, or not safety from taking damage and stress, but rather self-healing of damage and stress, to be paired with abilities that make you want to constantly fight. Instead, he has stealth and also arcane mastery. So, that's interesting. I don't really know how he's going to play, but I'm excited to play him. Next, we have Mike in his incredible purple singlet here and a belt. Anger is good, da? Makes one feel alive. So Mike, I think, was quoted on here. Yeah, Mike is speaking for Julian. So these two are maybe buddies. Mike is Mike Kozlov from Petrograd, Russia. Mikhail was Mike is short for Mikhail, okay. Mikhail was a Russian strongman for a traveling circus. He would bend bars, juggle 50-pound weights, and wrestle bears into submission. Well, the last one was probably stage magic, but Mike is capable of some truly astonishing feats of raw might, particularly in a fight. And there is plenty of fighting in this line of work. Mike enjoys the challenge of facing these beasts head-on, which means he's probably a bit crazy. That said, he's in good company, since the only madmen seek out these nameless terrors and battle them head-on. Yeah, there's like not a lot of writing in this game. It's not like Arkham Horror where you're constantly reading encounters or reading a campaign book if you're talking about the card game. But the writing that's here, I really enjoy. So, Mike, here we go. Mike has the things that I thought might be paired with Julian and Silent Witness. He has Brawling, so he gets extra dice and extra abilities when attacking monsters in his space. He has Toughness, so that gives him rerolls and eventually just starts preventing sanity loss and wounds from rolls and fire. And then his signature skill is Proficient. When attacking, for each stress you spend to reroll a die, you may reroll one additional die. Resolve these one at a time. So, okay, so you can spend stress to reroll 2 instead of 1. And then it goes on to say, as you level up, you may also do this on rolls that are not attacks. Oh, at first it said when attacking, then it says on rolls that are not attacks, which would be, I guess, enemies attacking you, as well as if you're doing any special actions for recruiting people to your cause as part of the episode or whatever it is. It then goes on to say, when attacking, you may heal 1 stress before the roll, and finally, you may also heal 1 stress before rolls that are not attacks. Wow, spending stress for a double reroll, and also healing a stress every time you make any roll, for any reason, seems real good. Like I said, these are really impactful, powerful abilities, so no surprise. Okay, I'm going to leave the stories of the rest of these characters to you, but let's take a quick look at them. We have Leon. I'll slow down a bit and let you guys catch up. He's like Magnum PI or something over here. In addition to Marksman and Swiftness, he has Show Off. If there's another investigator in your space, you gain a green die. Instead, if there's another investigator within 2 spaces, you gain it. You also have 1 free reroll if there's an investigator within 2 spaces, and you get a free reroll and a die, so it just keeps escalating. Okay, cool. So he's a marksman. He can target enemies a space away, so he likes to stay with the crowd and just like pick off enemies. And Swiftness will let him keep up with the team. Even though he says, I'll slow down a little bit and let you guys catch up, it kind of sounds like he wants to be following his team around in the game. Ruth. Turns out even Elder Chores don't check every shadow. She looks like, is she some sort of journalist? She's a freelance investigative reporter, yep. In addition to stealth and swiftness, she has Sly. Once per turn when you sneak, heal 1 stress. It goes on to upgrade to deal 1 wound to each enemy you sneak past, which is cumulative with stealth, because stealth starts doing that when you get it to level 3. That's dealing 2 wounds to every enemy you sneak past. That just pops cultists and some other things. That seems incredible. Instead, each time you sneak, heal 1 stress or wound and deal... Oh, heal 1 stress or wound and deal 1 wound to the enemy. Instead, each time you sneak... Oh, okay. This said once per run. Once per run when you sneak, it's upgraded to each time you sneak. Okay, so it could be multiple monsters if you have your stealth upgraded and you're sneaking multiple times. And once per turn after a run in which you sneaked, if you're in a safe space, you may investigate. Whoa, I don't think I've seen one that gets extra investigates. It's obviously thematic for the reporter. That seems really good, especially if you're in an episode where it's a little bit more important to find the things from the discovery deck that matter. Cool. I like it. I also like that this synergizes with one of her basic ones in like a direct way. It even mentions it. I don't think I've noticed them doing that before, but don't hold me to that. We have a Wukong. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. To fight, be where they are not. It is that easy and that hard. He has swiftness, toughness, and self-defense. When attacked, if no wounds are dealt, you heal 1 stress and may push the attacker 1 space away. When you're attacked... Okay, so he uses toughness to cancel the wounds and then gets rewarded for receiving no wounds. He heals stress and can push the attacker away. He also, as this goes on, he gets free rerolls when attacked. And when attacked by a cultist or monster, if no wounds are dealt, kill the attacker. on the final one. Holy shit. That's fun. If no wounds are dealt. So I guess you can't use like companions to soak up those wounds. I think that would still be wounds are dealt. But to be to be that monk that's just like going like this and then enemies just charge you and you fuck them up. That's pretty awesome. Okay, a couple more of these. We don't have to go through all of them. There's, I think, 10? Yeah, quite a few. So we've got Sally. Smile big, Mr. Monster. Wow, too many teeth. I guess I don't have to flip her to learn that she's a photographer because her signature ability is called Avid Photographer. When an investigator leaves your space, you may follow. Oh, that's really useful. So she kind of gets free moves out of that. Other investigators in your space gain a green die. When another investigator in your space rests, you may heal 3 wounds or stress in any combination. So you share their rests, you share their movement, you share their rests. Once per turn, you or an investigator in your space may perform 1 free action. I love this playstyle. I am a big like support player in video games and in board games, and so giving other people dice, tagging along with them, being rewarded for being with them, then resting when they rest. This sounds awesome. And she's paired with Arcane Mastery and Toughness. Those don't really tie in as directly to kind of what she's doing, but I mean, I guess Toughness is useful because if you are stacking up in a space with people, then it's more likely that tough monsters are getting extra attacks, right? Because if they're in your space, they're attacking each of you on your turn. So that toughness is maybe important to counteract that. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. Okay, one more. We've got Stella. Science has many practical applications, like creating dangerously volatile substances. She has Arcane Mastery and Marksman, so she throws her potions space away, I guess. And chemical explosives. When you attack, you may target 1 additional figure in the target's space. Split the wounds as you like. Ooh, so going Marksman, targeting an attack 1 space away, and then targeting essentially 2 figures, splitting the wounds a space away. That's really cool. It goes on to upgrade into when you attack, you have 1 free reroll for each target, so that rewards you for targeting 2. When you attack, you may target any number of it. This is basically just brawling. This is brawling, but it combos with marksman. I like it. I think that's pretty cool. The final step is when you attack, deal the full wounds to each target. Very cool. Yeah, I like it a lot. Okay, so yeah, new characters. They seem good. There's a lot of them. Obviously, they are fully compatible with the previous boxes. I was curious whether there would be like a new basic skill or anything like that that would at least kind of make them feel more distinct from the first wave of content, but nope, seems like they are Cthulhu Death May Die characters. Okay, the other part of your character is these conditions, which there are 8 new ones. Well, I guess we'll read them and find out if they're new, but it doesn't look like they like reprinted the ones, so looks like 8 new ones for Fear of the Unknown. Let's look at a few of them. They are Megalomania. When you reach a sanity threshold, these all trigger. I think they all look like they work that same way. If there's no other investigator alive that has reached more sanity thresholds than you, heal all of your stress. Otherwise, take 2 stress. Oh, you want you want to be the least sane person. You want to be leading the way down the sanity track. Because if no one else has reached more than you get rewarded. Otherwise, you get punished. Hilarious. I really, really like that. We have Traveling Fugue. You must move to a space that is 2 spaces away from your current space if possible. Enemies follow. Simply, you get a free move, but you also must take it. Overcaring. Up here it says at the start of the game, name a protected investigator. Okay, so you choose one of your friends. If your protected is in your space, they heal all wounds and you heal all of your stress. Otherwise, take 1 stress for each wound your protected has. If they're dead, nothing happens. So you want to be in the space with that person. This is great. Obviously, these are randomized if you're playing by the rules as written, so you don't get to choose which one you have, but it goes great with, was it Ruth? The character that wants to be in the same space with her allies. This just synergizes great with that. Otherwise, that actually sounds like a pretty big pain. Because a lot of the time, I think you're splitting up because there's so much to do in so little time. There's autophobia. If there's at least 1 other investigator in your space, heal all your stress. Otherwise, take 2 stress. Then heal 1 stress for each companion you have. Wow, that's a lot going on there. Heal all your stress if there's another investigator in your space. So that's kind of a common theme on these. Otherwise, take 2 stress, but heal 1 back for each companion. So you can address this by tag teaming with someone else and hanging out in their space, or having 2 or even more. I guess if you have more than 2 companions, you have a net heal. Okay, one more. Compulsive accumulating. This is just this is like a hoarding. Like the art here is a dude sitting in an office just filled with shit, just garbage everywhere, like you'd see on that Hoarders show back in the day, something like that. If you have so when you reach a sanity threshold, put a wound token on this card before resolving it. Then it says if you have less items and companions than the number of tokens on this card, take stress equal to the difference. Otherwise, heal all your stress. Okay, so for him, every time he hits a sanity threshold, it checks whether he has enough stuff. And if he doesn't have enough stress, he takes stress. Very cool. There are 3 more, but again, I don't want this video to be 2 hours long. I don't want to read every single word in here. What else we've got in the box is obviously I think we have kind of the big bads in the episodes left. We're going to look at Azathoth and Tsitagua and maybe 1 episode. I'm not going to go into every single episode box. One thing I thought was notable as I was unboxing this, the player colors changed. Is this playing on camera okay? The colors, instead of being bright, purple and orange and green, they are brown and black and white and yellow and kind of a dark red. So, I'm not sure why. They, wow, as I throw this over my shoulder. Because it's not like this allows you to play with more than 5 players, I don't think. I guess it's just to be different? I don't know. Maybe they had a printing error and the red came out too dark and they just made other new colors to come with it. I'm not sure why you would do that. But I guess it's kind of cool that just to have that difference between the two boxes. So as you'd expect, there are minis upon minis upon minis in here. Literally 3 trays stacked on top of each other. These are our investigators and new poses of cultists. It looks like 3 new kind of cultist minis, which is always neat. More monsters down here. I don't know what this one is, but it's some sort of snake basilisk type monstrosity. It's pretty horrifying. The minis in this game are great, as you'd expect, and I don't think this is any exception to that. Okay. Let's look at Top of the Morning, which is episode 1. So I think I'm going to poke around in here and see what's going on. I think I will leave episodes 2 through 6 for you to discover on your own, but I want to know what I'll be into on my first game of this box. There's no need to play these in order either. In fact, I didn't. I actually, recently when I was talking, my friend Candace, if you know, you've seen her face on Board Game Geek's homepage, I'm sure. We were talking about Cthulhu Death May Die. She had just picked it up and she asked me my favorite episode. So I came into this room, opened the box just so I could kind of refresh my memory, and I found that episode 3 from season 1 had its components in Shrink. I had just never opened it. So in my weekly game group that week, we made sure to play it and play that episode. So now I've played all of season 1. But clearly we never played them in order. We were just looking at the nature of each one and picking whatever, sounded fun that night. So, on the back of the box here, Top of the Morning, season 3, episode 1, it says, Kilkenny was the site of the first witch trials in Western history, and one of the few to find actual witches. Now, though, cultists are using ancient energies to power their rituals. As a side effect, the spirits of the old witches have risen. Petronilla de Meath, unjustly accused, and the witch Alice Kyteler, who got her condemned, are battling through their ancient feud anew. Only proving Petronilla's innocence will finally lay her spirit to rest, taking Alice along with her. So the idea here, so it's a feud between these two characters, Petronilla and Alice. Petronilla was unjustly accused, but she got unjustly accused and condemned by the actual witch, Alice. I'll admit I have mixed feelings. Like, the witch trials were a horrifying, terrible time in human history. So, as mostly women, were being accused and put to death just out of conspiracy and potentially control and just lots of terrible people being awful to each other reasons. So I've always been a little bit mixed about modern media that are like, the witch trials were kind of cute, and wouldn't it be fun if there were witches? And sort of taking it as face value that the witches had some validity to them, or the witch trials had some validity to them. But anyway, that doesn't stop me from watching horror movies about that. I've just always been a little bit torn on it. Let's see. Okay, looks like we've got our standard 8 Mythos cards, our discoveries. I'll open these and I'll look at 2 or 3 cards from each. I don't want, like, the episodes are fun to play blind and kind of see for the first time. And so I don't want to just dump that information either. I don't want to spoil it for myself or for you. So we'll just look at a couple of them. But let's also look at what's included in this box. We have 4, I'm just going to go ahead and punch them out. 4 tokens that are red on one side and blue on the other side and kind of show a woman with like scales behind her. Okay, maybe like which, innocent or guilty, something like that. And it looks like, okay, so the flavor text is the same that I read from the box. So, oh, and we had town square and pub markers on here. By the way, I really flew right past these punch boards, but as you'd expect, there's another, 5 punch boards of kind of weirdly shaped, all sorts of different room tiles. I love that this one is like this long labyrinthine cavern, but it's actually just one room. It's one space. You just move through it. And then there's these tokens here that are for randomly determining a gate for purposes for when mechanics call for that. Randomly determining either a gate or a starting space. The unknown monsters, like where they spawn at the start of the game, according to the rules, use that, and I would speculate that some episodes do too, since they could. But I don't know that for a fact. Okay, we've got fire. We've got health, gates, tunnels. Yeah, nothing really new on these. Okay, so that aside, we have let's look at the rest of the episode. So it says, to disrupt the ritual, have 4 jurors in the town square with their innocent side face up. Okay, so we're trying to probably move these jurors around, but also convince them that Petronilla is innocent. When the Elder One advances, move each juror with their guilty side face up 1 space away from the town square if possible. If their opinion is guilty, they run away. Special rules. After the ritual is disrupted, remove all juror tokens from the board. Ignore any effects that would affect juror tokens from now on. Okay, so we want these all blue side up in the town square. How do we do that? There's a gather jurors action. Move a juror in your space up to 2 spaces away. Okay, so similar. We've seen this in Season 1 scenarios where there's people on the board and you're kind of using your actions to move them a couple spaces. Either bring them with you, or in this case, you're just shoving them. And convince a juror. Choose a juror in your space and make a roll. Add a success for each evidence you have, item or companion. On 4+ successes, the juror is convinced. Turn its token over to the innocent side. So that's how you flip them. And it looks like in the initial setup, they are spread out and they are all on the guilty side. So you have to convince them. It doesn't look like they have to be in the town square to be convinced. So you could either convince them and then move them there, or vice versa. But you need 4 successes on a roll, which means you're going to need to find some evidence, which will surely come out of this discovery deck. So this is where the investigative reporter would really shine if, oh no, I didn't open these. Uh-oh. Come on. Can I do that stupid technique that gets this open? All right. I'm going to go get some scissors. I'm going to hit the pause button. Okay. Through some movie magic, the pause button on my stream deck, I've got these with great difficulty unwrapped. They wrap these fuckers tight. I got a knife and got into them. So we're just going to look at a couple of these cards. Like the woman in white, it's a companion. It looks like not evidence. It says a ghostly woman observes the other spirits in silence. You may take 2 stress to claim the woman in white. While you have her, gain 1 level in arcane mastery. She cannot be given wounds. We have the ghost of the first husband. William the merchantman, a smiling face and friendly word. Everyone liked him, even a witch. You can take 2 stress to claim the husband, or if you do not, you claim the hexed condition. I'm sure we'll see this on a number of cards. That's how these often work. The hexed condition says, whenever you gather jurors or convince a juror, before resolving the action, take stress. Okay, so you're just racking up stress if you are hexed. And then the companion, if you do claim the husband, is William the first husband. You have 1 free gather jurors action each turn, and he is evidence traded. So you have an extra action and are better at convincing the jurors. Okay, just 1 more. Ghost of the second, third, fourth husband. All right, let's find here we go. Embalmed bird. A gruesome talisman, oddly calming, yet quite sinister. You may claim the embalmed bird. It's an item and evidence traded. It says embalmed bird. You may choose not to activate your insanity. If you do, take the hexed condition side of this card. Oh, that's a new mechanic I don't think we've seen. So you can use this to skip activating like your condition, I guess, when you hit a sanity threshold. And then this embalmed bird becomes a hex. So you lose the evidence, but if that would be like a really disastrous trigger of your condition card, that seems like a good option to have, I guess. Huh. Okay, that's cool. The monsters are Ghasts and the Unnameable. Ghasts say, if attacked but not destroyed, the attacker takes 1 wound. Also new, at least to me, these now specify how, like, the component count. It says pool 5, so there are 5 Ghast figures available. I guess so there's just no, if you store your game in a different way, throw your minis in a Tupperware, but like a plastic container or something like that as a way of storing them, you know how many you're looking for. That seems handy. I don't know whether the game mechanics maybe use that, like, ability that can only be used against a monster that's pool size 1, like only a unique monster. But anyway. The guest says, if attacked but not destroyed, the attacker takes a wound. Okay. There's a lot of these little monsters that punish you for partially defeating them. And the Unnameable, which has 6 health, 4 dice it rolls, and says, cannot be wounded while there's another monster or cultist in the same space. Oh, that seems brutal! The monsters tend to kind of swarm in this game. Unnameable cannot be wounded while there's another monster or cultist there. I wonder how that interacts with targeting multiple things. If you target... Like with that new, with Stella, the chemical explosives, if you target 2 monsters and one of them is the Unnameable, and there's a cultist next to it with 1 health left, can you distribute your wounds with her ability, finishing off the cultist and then damaging the Unnameable? I'd probably rule that as yes, but it's not crystal clear here in the rules to me. Okay, and yeah, let's just look at like 2 Mythos cards. I bet they're nothing too crazy. We have like Whispering Lies. Each juror in the same space as a cultist is turned to their guilty side. Ooh, the cultists sway them back. I like that. And I need a drink. If there's any juror token in the town square, place one of them in the pub. I don't know. Let's see on the map. The pub is 3 spaces from the town square, which means it's 2 gatherer juror actions to fix that. That seems kind of brutal, although neither of these give you a Mythos symbol, so that's cool. Okay, I mean, I don't think that this is doing anything terribly like unique or revolutionary with its episodes based on this one that we've just explored a little bit, but you know, more content for Cthulhu Death May Die is always fun. I'm just gonna put these tokens loose in the box. I usually grab a small Ziploc bag or something for them, but I will deal with that later because I want to look at Azathoth, and I think this is going to be our last thing to unbox. So there are 2 Elder Ones in here. Azathoth is the first, and we are greeted right away. I haven't actually opened these. We are greeted with these tokens that say +1 health, +1 green die on them. Okay. And oh boy, I didn't. Oh, hey, that one came open easy. Good. So Azathoth, stage 1. Says, enemies with cosmic tokens, that must be what these are cosmic enemies. Cosmic enemies gain a green die when attacking and have +1 health. Oh, okay, that's what these say. So these are for enemies and they buff them. When Azathoth advances, move the nearest cosmic enemy 1 space towards you. Summon in order 1 Dancer of Azathoth and 1 Cultist, both at the farthest gate. Place a cosmic token on the nearest non-cosmic monster. Okay, let me break that down. Move the nearest cosmic enemy, so the nearest enemy that's been buffed by this, 1 space towards you. Summon, in order, it says, 1 Dancer of Azathoth and 1 Cultist, both at the farthest gate. Something about the Dancer of Azathoth or the Cultists when you're playing against Azathoth must make that order matter. Place a cosmic token on the nearest non-cosmic monster. Okay, I'm not going to look at stages 2, 3, and the final stage because I want to keep that as a surprise when I play against it. But we can look at the monsters. The cultists are, okay, they're your basic cultists. It says these cultists exalt the Daemon Sultan and they roll 2 green dice and have 2 hit points. And then the Dancer of Azathoth also just has 2 hit points, 4 in the pool. Oh, so there's a decent number of minis in this Azathoth box, it looks like. And when destroyed, place a cosmic token on the non-cosmic cultist or monster with the most health in its space, if any. So that didn't super clarify why the order from when Azathoth advances matters. I guess if you have some trap or some effect set up that it's going to destroy something when spawned, that would trigger. Okay. And then, as usual, it has 8 Mythos cards, and as usual, I can't open them. You know what, we'll just look at the first one. Dancer of Azathoth. Each cultist and Dancer of Azathoth moves 1 space towards you and summon 1 at the red space. Okay, so I think we get a pretty good idea here of what Azathoth is doing. It's buffing enemies, and then I would, because it not only buffs them by giving them +1 health and +1 die, but then it names them cosmic, so I'm sure that this Mythos deck probably interacts with cosmic enemies, moves them around, stuff like that. Because these minis are so cool, I do want to just take a quick look at the Azathoth mini. Wow, okay, when I do these unboxing videos, I gotta stay tidier. Sorry, but this is how I am. I'm not a tidy person. Azathoth is this gaping hole and all these tentacles around it. This is, I don't know what to make of this. My brain, and I'm sure this is what they were going for. My brain looks at this and does not understand what it's seeing. But Azathoth, I think, has always sort of been, what I know of Azathoth from the Arkham games is that it is sort of a distant cosmic presence in the ether and not really something that has a physical form very often. So I guess it does have a physical form in this game because you can shotgun him to death, as you usually do in Cthulhu Death May Die. Alright, one more big bad to look at as I continue to add to my mess here. And then, as you know, you mix and match these with the episodes, and so these are all fully compatible, as far as I can tell, with the previous boxes and the future boxes, and so if you do pick this one up, I guess Season 1 episodes now have 4 Elder Ones you can mix and match with them, and they are, and that's if you don't have any of these sold separately, kind of like standalone big bads, which I, of course, have them all because I'm a sucker and buy a lot of things. Anyway, on Sithagua, we're greeted with these tokens of a sleepy eye. Okay, and I did open okay. This is the box that I opened earlier and did take the shrink wrap off the cards. I guess I didn't do that with Azathoth. So for Sithagua, there's a lot of text on this card. Okay, his stage 1. It's there. It says, when an investigator gains a fatigue token, they place it on the leftmost space of their stress or wound track. Okay, so these tokens cover your stress or wound tracks starting from the left, blocking that space. If the tentacle marker is already in the leftmost space, you must take a wound or stress, so it shoves you down the track. You cannot remove your tentacle marker from the last stress space. Once per rest action, the investigator may heal 1 less to discard 1 fatigue from them before healing. So fatigue lowers your maximum stress capacity and wounds and health, I guess would be the word. There's not a word for stress capacity. Let me know in the comments what single word you would use to describe the amount of ability you have to take stress. Weirdly, yeah, it's not really a snappy thing to discuss. Okay, it goes on to say, when Sithagua advances, choose an investigator to gain 1 fatigue token. Oh, it doesn't have to be the person whose turn it is when it's triggered. And then move each amorphous scion 1 space towards you. Summon an amorphous scion at the nearest gate. So again, we're not going to look at its other stages, but we can see it has cultists in search of Nikai, and amorphous scions, which have a pool of 2, 3 health, and when attacked by an investigator with a fatigue token, reduce wounds taken by 1. Oh, so they're more hardy against you if you're fatigued. And then I'm sure that the Mythos cards here punish you for being fatigued as well. Like Amorphous Scion. The nearest Amorphous Scion moves 2 spaces towards the investigator with the most fatigue tokens. And then 1 spawns. Let's What else we got? And there's like Sleeper of Nikai. Choose an investigator to gain 1 fatigue token. Then, the investigator with the most fatigue tokens takes 1 stress, 1 wound, and loses 1 sanity. If tied, choose 1. Okay. Interesting. Because I think that the fatigue mechanic kind of makes you want to put them maybe on 1 or 2 people, because you want to keep people with no fatigue at all to be able to fight those amorphous... What are they called? Amorphous... Hell, what were they? Amorphous scions. You want to have some people with no fatigue to fight those, but if you're stacking your fatigue too much on people, that Mythos card punishes you for it. So that's a cool design. I like it. We've got a mini to look at. We're just gonna look at the Sithagua mini. Here it is. Holy shit. We have this. I would almost describe it as like a goblin meets a dragon. Definitely kind of fat, and it doesn't look like it moves too quickly or at all. So, oh, it has some eyes on its shoulders too. So yeah, it seems to be sort of like the embodiment of sloth as an elder one. Makes sense with the fatigue theme. Alright, I guess that does it. I think I've been through everything in the box that I'm going to. This was cool. I think this box is cool. If you love Cthulhu Death May Die, it looks like it is more Cthulhu Death May Die. And if you really love Cthulhu Death May Die, you probably already backed it because it did have a Kickstarter campaign. But also, it doesn't... The only thing is that unknown monster, that mechanic that really rewards you for having the other kind of 2 seasons of content. So I don't know if most people's collection needs all these boxes. I don't think there's enough reason to have them all to justify the shelf space and the money. But I don't know. I'm not gonna cycle them out just yet, especially because I haven't finished all the episodes of season 2 yet. But maybe once I have, maybe those rotate out and I pick up season 4 also. So thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you've played this yet, what you think of it. Try not to be too spoilery, but I guess this game is not that like spoiler sensitive. Yeah, I'd love to hear your early experiences with Cthulhu Death May Die, Fear of the Unknown. And I also picked up, oh, what was it? Was it Ithaca? There's another, at least my local game store had a new standalone Elder One box. So I think I'll do a quick video looking at that too. It'll obviously be a lot shorter than this one was. So keep an eye out for that. If you would subscribe to the channel, you'll almost definitely see it because the algorithm would be like, hey, you like optimal play and you like Cthulhu Death May Die, let's put it on your homepage. And also, I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe, so please do. All right, that's gonna do it. That's a video. I'm going to finish chugging this monster and then switch to alcohol for the next video I record, and I'll see you at that one. Till then, be optimal.